So listen, I wanted to talk about. I think we're about to see a real intersection of college sports with law and politics real soon, and it's already starting. And I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork for our listeners. There was a Supreme Court decision end of April of this year called Louisiana versus Calais, and the issue was whether Louisiana's congressional map was an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. And what happened was the Louisiana redrew its districts in 2022, excluding a majority black district that they cut into pieces in this redraw, trying to get ready for the upcoming election. Federal judge in Louisiana held that was a violation of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, so Louisiana redrew to include this majority black district called SB 8. And then SB 8 was challenged by a different group, and it went up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court held that, in their minds, complying with the Voting Rights Act is no longer a compelling reason for race-based districting. And they found that SB 8 was an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. So the fallout in the way that this is affecting sports, college sports, is was kind of predicted by the dissent in Calais, written by Justice Kagan, who just said, hypothetically, if you think of it this way, if you take a state that is a largely white red state, and you create a district that's a perfect circle, and you make that a black majority district, and you surround that black majority district circle with, 5 other districts that are 90% white, and then in advance of upcoming elections, you redraw that plan and carve up the circle so that pieces of it are each going out into the spokes of the 5 majority white districts. You've essentially taken from the black voters their ability to elect a representative to Congress of their choosing. That was Justice Kagan's take on it, and sure enough, that is starting to become clear that the black community is in full agreement. And I started noticing right after this decision, Alabama and Florida quickly redrew their congressional lines for the 2026 midterms in a way that did dilute some black districts. And so I started noticing pretty soon after that on social media, comedian DL Hughley and ESPN celebrity Ryan Clark kind of encouraging parents of black athletes to discourage their kids from going to SEC schools because of the Alabama move, and ACC schools because of the Florida move. I guess Florida covers both conferences. And I thought, well, that's 2 guys. We'll see what's going to happen. But I heard Jim Clyburn speak recently, 86-year-old congressman from South Carolina who no longer gives a rat's ass what anyone thinks about him. And he basically said, black ministers across the country, starting just very recently, are preaching to their congregation the same thing that DL Hughley and Ryan Clark are posting on social media. And if this takes off and you start to see a swing where these athletes are going to the Big Ten and other conferences and basically boycotting the SEC and the ACC, I mean, it could be like NIL on steroids, where they're saying, hey, don't take our names, images, and likenesses, but also don't take our voting rights for granted. So what do you guys think? Do you think this has got legs, or is it just, kind of a hot issue that will fade?
I think that it's very sad to say that the state of affairs in the NCAA today is follow the money. So I think that it's a principled position that's worth these kids really following and their parents. But I think money talks. And
but there's money at Ohio State, and there's money at Michigan and Oregon.
Yeah, but everyone can't all go to Ohio State, right?
If you play wide receiver or cornerback at LSU, there's a very good chance you're going to get drafted in the first or second round. If you play, whatever, we can go through positions that are associated. If you play on the defensive line or linebacker for Alabama, there's a very good chance that you're going to get drafted in the first or second round, notwithstanding how good the team is even going to do. There would have to be a real sea change. There would have to be some true conscientious objection from these players to make those moves. Hey, let's not forget, who was it? Travis Hunter and Deion's kids that said, we want to really actually do something different and play for an HBCU.
Yeah.
Well, they did that for 1 year. And then
but it made a huge impact.
Did it, though? A lasting impact?
It did. Wasn't it Jackson State? The money that came into that school was a game changer.
I know, but I don't know that kids are signing up for Jackson State as opposed to Division I, schools. It would be great if we could get the HBCUs going. It would be great if these kids could take a stand and say, there's other places where there's money. You can go to Ohio State, you can go to Penn State, you can go to whatever, traditional schools. That said, there's going to be redistricting in Ohio too. I mean, it's not just a Southern problem.
No, I know.
It's a very, very interesting
that's an important
issue.
Point. That is a very important point.
Yeah.
But I think what you're missing is how religious a lot of these kids are, in the Black Baptist community. And if their ministers and their parents are telling them this, I think it's going to have an impact. And I think you're going to see a change.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I hear what you're saying, but these kids are going to these SEC and ACC schools, not just for money. I mean, certainly that's where a lot of the money is, but also because that is, at least currently, the best pathway to play professionally. Or if you're not playing professionally, to maybe get a job in the industries. The best competition, the coaching is really good. If you could get some of these coaches to leave these schools and go somewhere else, maybe that would impact. But that's what, the facilities, the stadiums, all of these different things is what they're, I don't know if that's what they're thinking about. Maybe you could get an 18-year-old to change his mindset and say, well, I'm not going to go there because of voting issues and things like that. But I think in their head, they're like, how do I get to the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball or whatever it is? I think these schools, fortunately or unfortunately, provide some of the best ways to do that.
Yeah, they do. They for sure do. I just continue to disagree to the extent for the reasons I've stated, and also because the alternatives are getting better all the time. I mean, I've got Colorado in the mix. That's a really attractive school for young kids. I mean, they're going to get, if they're good, they're going to get a ton of exposure playing for Deion. And the Big Ten is all of a sudden the dominant conference.
Yeah. It'll be definitely something to watch.
Can we stop with the recruiting for Penn State right now?
The other thing is there are ACC schools that are not in Alabama or Florida, so that there are also options, I think.
There were luminary players at the higher level that would affect issues like this. Guys like Jim Brown, guys like Reggie White. I don't know, probably the most outspoken of late in the last several years has been Malcolm Jenkins, but I don't know that we have that consciousness that exists right now beyond what's happening in the churches and elsewhere. They also need the players to guide these guys too, and I don't know that we have that as much today as we used to have that.
Well, it may be coming. I'm just saying, I think this isn't. We're in the infancy of this movement, and I think it's going to get stronger. And if I was the athletic director at Alabama, I would be talking to some of the politicians about chilling out on some of these policies.